Hello everyone, Real Estate Agent Falls here, and today I will be showing you all of the properties across San Andreas State. There are tons of homes available for us to buy in GTA Online, and today we will be looking at each and every one to find out which are better than the others. And if you do enjoy this video, please consider subscribing. Firstly, there are 4 basic home layouts to most properties in the game, which include the low-end homes, the mid-tier homes, the high-end homes, and stilt homes. Low-end homes have a lesser interior than mid-tier homes, and low-end homes get a 2-car garage, while mid-tier homes get a 6-car garage, which I personally prefer. However, some interiors have multiple variants, so let's dive right in. Starting off with 0232 Paleto Boulevard. It is a 2-car garage home, and it is in Paleto Bay, of course. Not really the greatest home because of its location. Even if you have properties in Paleto Bay, I would suggest relocating to Los Santos. Overall, the home itself is not great, but it does look nice, I guess. I will give it a 5 out of 10. Next up, we have 140 Zancudo Avenue in Sandy Shores, a bit of a better location than Paleto Bay. If you do want a house that is a bit further away from all the action and chaos of the city, I would recommend getting this house or another one in Sandy Shores. This might actually be the only house in Sandy Shores, and it does come with a 2-car garage. Overall, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Next up, we have 1893 Grapeseed Avenue. It is a home that comes with a 2-car garage in Grapeseed, a bit of a better location than Sandy Shores, than Paleto Bay, of course, but it's kind of on par with Sandy Shores. It is quite pricey as well. I will give it a 5.5 out of 10. Moving on to 2143 Las Lagunas Boulevard, our first low-tier home in Los Santos. It comes with a 2-car garage, and it is in a better location than all of the other low-tier homes, and it is the most expensive low-tier home in Los Santos. I will give it a 6.5 out of 10 based on its location alone. Next up, we have 0069 Cougar Avenue. It comes with a 2-car garage, and it is in Los Santos as well. Comes in at $3,000 cheaper than the prior low-tier home as well, but it is in kind of a worse spot. I will give it a 5.5 out of 10. Next up, we have 1237 Prosperity Street. Comes with a 2-car garage, and it is a pretty bad location for the city. It is also pretty pricey as well. The home itself does look okay, I guess, and I will give it a 5 out of 10. Moving on to 1561 San Vita Street, comes with a 2-car garage, and it does look alright. It's in a slightly better location as well, and it comes in cheaper than all the prior low-tier homes in Los Santos. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Moving on to 1115 Boulevard, that was pretty confusing. 1115 Boulevard Del Perro comes with a 2-car garage, and it is $93,000 cheaper than all the prior ones as well, but it does come at a pretty bad location. I will give it a 5 out of 10. Next up, we have 2057 Vespucci Boulevard, a 2-car garage. It comes in at $87,000, and it is kind of in the heart of downtown Los Santos. A pretty good location. If you do want a low-end home in the city that is practical for pretty cheap as well, I would recommend getting this one. It's a great location. I will give it a 7.5 out of 10. Moving on to 0112 South Rockford Drive, comes in with a 2-car garage and at $80,000. It is in a slightly worse location than the prior home, but it is slightly cheaper as well. I will give it a 6.5 out of 10. Moving on to the low-end garages. So these are only 2-car garages, no interior home, so you cannot spawn at the start of a lobby. Starting off with 0897 Mirror Park Boulevard, comes with a 2-car garage, $35,000. It is not the best location, and it does look quite strange. It's part of the downtown Cabco building, which is quite odd. I will give it a 5.5 out of 10. Moving on to Garage Innocence Boulevard, comes with a 2-car garage, $34,000, in kind of an okay location, kind of towards southern Los Santos, going towards Davis. $34,000 is not that much as well. I will give it a 6 out of 10. Moving on to 634 Boulevard Del Perro. It is a pretty bad location, coming in at $33,000. It's pretty cheap, but you get what you pay for, I guess, and you might as well just upgrade. I give it a 4 out of 10. Moving on to 12 Little Bighorn Avenue, comes with a 2-car garage, $32,000 in Davis, and it's kind of a weird location, but it does have another garage next to it, so you can sort of pair these and combine them together. I will give it a 5 out of 10. Moving on to 1920 Sonora Way, it comes with a 2-car garage, and this is absolutely a terrible location. I would not recommend buying this at all. You cannot pair or combine it with any other properties because there are none available in this area. I will give it a 1 out of 10. Terrible. Next up, we have 2000 Great Ocean Highway, comes with a 2-car garage at $31,000. Once again, kind of a terrible location. I guess it's more convenient because it is right along the freeway. I will give it a 2 out of 10, slightly better than the prior one. Next up, we have 0754 Roy Lowenstein Boulevard. Comes in at $29,000. It is in a slightly better location than the rest, but honestly, just upgrade to a 10-car garage if you really want a 10-car garage. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Next up, we have 197 Route 68. Comes with a 2-car garage at $29,000. A pretty bad location, but I guess you can pair it with some others. I will give it a 4.5 out of 10. Next up, we have 1200 Route 68. Comes with a 2-car garage at $28,000. It's not a horrible location. You can pair it with the other ones, but a 2-car garage is pretty lousy. I'll give it a 3.5 out of 10. Moving on to 1932 Grapeseed Avenue, comes in at $27,000. It's in a pretty bad location. You're not really up here very often unless you're in a contact mission, and if you are, you're not going to be going in your garage very often. I'll give it a 3 out of 10. Moving on to 142 Polito Boulevard, comes with a 2-car garage at $26,000. Pretty bad location, and if you want a garage or a home up in Polito Bay, I would recommend just buying a home because it comes with a 6-car garage and a spawn point. Wouldn't buy this, give it a 1 out of 10. Moving on to 1 Strawberry Avenue, comes with a 2-car garage, and it's in Polito Bay as well. Not the best location, and I wouldn't even pair it. It's right next to the arcade, but only 2-car garage. I will give it a 2 out of 10. Moving on to Unit 124 Popular Street. This is pretty interesting because this garage gave birth to probably the most infamous money glitch to ever exist in GTA Online. Thousands and thousands of players' accounts were banned. It was a very controversial glitch, and to this day, their accounts still have not returned. But the garage itself is pretty average. Downtown Los Santos, it is free because I have a sale for it, but I believe it is $25,000 standard. Comes with a 2-car garage. Unless you did pair it with the glitch, this garage was absolutely pointless. Moving on to mid-tier homes, we have 4 Hangman Avenue, probably my favorite house in the game. Comes with a 6-car garage at $175,000. It's in a pretty good location as well. It has a pretty big property space as well. If I had to guess, probably like 4,000 square feet. It's a very nice home. The interior is not the best, but it is pretty nice. I do like it. 8.5 out of 10. Moving on to 4401 Procopio Drive, it comes in Polito Bay, 6-car garage, $165,000. Not the best property. Even if you have properties in Polito Bay, I would suggest relocating somewhere else. But if you really wanted to live in Polito Bay, I would recommend getting this. You got a spawn point and 6-car garage. I will give it a 7 out of 10. Moving on to 4584 Procopio Drive, pretty much the same criteria as the prior one. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. Basically the same exact property, just a block down. Moving on to 0115 Bay City Avenue. Comes with a 6-car garage at $150,000. It is a pretty nice looking property, kind of in Vespucci. You are right on the docks as well. It's a pretty nice location. I honestly like these a lot. I will give it a 7.5 out of 10. Moving on to 0184 Milton Road, comes with a 6-car garage at $146,000. It is not in the greatest location, kind of in upper Los Santos. You're not really in this area a lot. You're passing by it a lot, but you're not in this a lot. I will give it a 6 out of 10. Moving on to 12 Sustancia Road, comes with a 6-car garage at $143,000 in El Burro Heights. Not the best location at all. You're never really down here. You never even really pass down here unless you're in a contact mission. I will give it a 5 out of 10. Not the best. Moving on to 0504 South MO Milton Drive, I don't know what MO stands for, comes with a 6-car garage at $141,000. Not the best property by any means at all. Once again, in the northern Los Santos area. You're not really in this area too much, and if you are, just upgrade to a better property. Moving on to 0325 South Rockford Drive, comes with a 6-car garage at $137,000. I actually quite like this property a lot. It's in the middle of downtown Los Santos. You do pass by and you stay in this area pretty often because of the offices and all the other properties. You should try to be in central Los Santos. I will give it a 7.5 out of 10. Not bad. Moving on to Dream Tower, comes with a 6-car garage, $134,000 in a similar location as the prior. I'm going to give it a similar score to a 7.5 out of 10. Moving on to 1162 Power Street, comes with a 6-car garage at $130,000 in northern eastern Los Santos. Not the best area. You don't really pass through this area unless you're going to the casino, and it is kind of pricey. I will give it a 5 out of 10. Moving on to 0605 Spanish Avenue, comes with a 6-car garage at $128,000 in northern Los Santos. Once again, not the best location, not the best value. I will give it a 5 out of 10. Moving on to 0604 Las Lagunas Boulevard, comes with a 6-car garage at $126,000. This was actually a very good property back in the day because you could use it to get the armored Kuruma in the Pacific Standard finale. The apartment is right there down the street, and it was pretty good for that. So I will give it a 8.5 out of 10. But now I will give it a 6 out of 10. Moving on to the Royale, it has a 6-car garage at $125,000. It's in a rather nice area. I mean, it's still northern Los Santos, but rather central, so I will give it a 5 out of 10, but not the best. Moving on to mid-tier garages. So these are garages. They do not have a spawn point. All you have is a 6-car garage. Moving on to 0552 Roy Lowenstein Boulevard. There is a garage right next to this one, but it is a 2-car garage. So you can only pair a 6-car and a 2-car together. I wouldn't really recommend it. $80,000. I would recommend just buying a 10-car that is right up the street. Moving on to Unit 14 Popular Street, comes with a 6-car garage at $77,000. There is also a 10-car garage just down the street from this. I would just get that one. This is probably a 4 out of 10. Moving on to 1905 Davis Avenue, comes a 6-car garage in Davis at $75,000. Not the best area, it's just pretty bad, honestly, pretty mediocre. I will give it a 3.5 out of 10. Moving on to 0432 Davis Avenue, coming in at $72,000 with a 6-car garage, right next to the police station for what it's worth, but it's not really worth anything, so I'll give it a 1 out of 10. Moving on to Unit 1 Olympic Freeway, it's right under the freeway, of course, not in the best area, and this is once again in the similar area to where that 10-car garage is. Just go right up the street. It's not really worth losing 4 garage spaces for nothing, really. Moving on to 4531 Dry Dock Street, this comes with a 6-car garage at $67,000. Not in the best area at all, definitely in the southern Los Santos area. You're not really in this area, and if you are, you're not going in your garage. I wouldn't recommend buying this at all. 2 out of 10. Moving on to 8754 Route 68. Comes in at $65,000 with a 6-car garage. It's right next to Fort Zancudo for what it's worth, and it is worth relatively something. I will give it a 3.5 out of 10. Moving on to 870 Route 68 Approach. This used to be a pretty good garage for a duplication glitch because there was a bunker right next to it. Of course, I never did this glitch, and we will talk no further of that. For what it's worth, it is a 5 out of 10. Moving on to high-end homes, we are starting off with the Eclipse Towers Penthouse Suite 1, 2, and 3. They are all the same thing, but Rockstar probably just wanted players to have multiple options when choosing interiors. So Penthouse Suite 1, 2, and 3 are the exact same because the interiors are different. So you basically combine them and make whatever interior you like. Starting off with the modern interior, I actually quite like it a lot, but it does come with kind of a bad view. You're looking kind of towards the hills. You're not looking at downtown LS, not the best, but it is a rather nice looking property. If it had a view of downtown, it would definitely be a 10, but I will give it a 7.5 for what it's worth. Moving on to the Moody interior, it is pretty nice. I do like the accents of red. I think it is kind of too grayish though, and you do also get the worst view. I will give it a 6 out of 10 for what it's worth. Moving on to Vibrant, I utterly hate how this interior looks. If you have this, I think me and you cannot be friends because to me this looks like a kindergarten classroom. I really don't like how the colors clash. Not a very nice interior at all with the bad view. I'm going to give it a 2. The only thing that saves it is the location and the 10-car garage. Moving on to the Sharp variant, a very nice looking interior. This would probably be honestly my favorite interior other than the modern, but once again it comes with the bad view, but the interior itself is actually pretty nice with a nice bedroom, nice living room. The layout is actually very nice, but the view is what's holding it back. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Moving on to Monochrome, one of the most popular interiors for the custom Penthouse Suite 3, the Penthouse Suites and Eclipse Towers. It's not the best looking interior, honestly. I don't love how the floor is so shiny. Personally, just not for me, but most people will dub this a 10. Me personally, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. Moving on to Seductive, I don't like that name. The interior is relatively okay. It's too much red, too much brown. Just personally not my style. For what it's worth, it does have a nice view. I will give it a 6 out of 10, but I don't like the colors. Moving on to Regal, comes with purple. If you're a Lakers fan or something, or a Panic fan. Does have a nice view, but I'm not a fan of the purple. It also has no contrasting colors. The entire thing is purple with like little hints of brown. Not my favorite at all. I will give it a 4 out of 10. Moving on to Aqua, definitely by far the most popular variant of the Eclipse Tower Suite, probably because it is the most expensive, but personally I just don't really like it at all. The floors I'm just not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of the blue. It's a little bit too modern with not enough splashes of color for me. I will give it a 6 for its popularity, but in my personal opinion, I will never buy it. And also, this all does come with a 10-car garage, which is a pretty nice 10-car garage in a good location. Moving into Stilt Homes, we have 3655 Wild Oats Drive. Comes with a 10-car garage, but the thing I do not like about Stilt Apartments is that you have to exit the building to go into the garage. You cannot just leave the door and straight into the garage. You have to go through 2 separate cutscenes. Very annoying, but the view is very nice and the building itself is pretty nice. I will give it a 8 out of 10. What's holding it back is definitely the 2 cutscenes. Moving on to 2044 North Conquer Avenue. Comes with a 10-car garage. It is a pretty nice location as well. Also, whenever, for what it's worth, we have to make fake resumes in high school in some of my classes, I always use North Conquer as the address. Not sure why, nobody ever gets the reference, but for what it's worth, has a nice view. It's probably 6.5 out of 10. Moving on to 2045 North Conquer Avenue, pretty much the same scoring as the prior one. They're right next to each other, literally like a house over, I believe, or maybe 2 houses over. So I will give it a 6.5 out of 10 as well. Moving on to 2862 Hillcrest Avenue. This is part of a series of houses that all live on the exact same street. You could actually pair 4 of these stilt homes together, which would actually be quite crazy. You could have all 4 of them right by each other. So for what that is worth, I will give it a 8.5 out of 10 for the convenience, and it also has a nice view. Moving on to 2868 Hillcrest Avenue, comes with a 10-car garage as well as another still apartment. Once again, on that street where you could pair 4 of them. And if you do pair all 4 of them like I did, it is very helpful, and I will give it an 8.5 out of 10 as well because it has the same view and these same bonuses. Moving on to 2117 Milton Road, comes with a 10-car garage right up the street. You can't really pair it like you can the other ones. It is kind of near them, but not exactly. If you do want a still home in this area, I would recommend just going over to the others so you compare them. I will give it a 6 out of 10. Moving on to 2874 Hillcrest Avenue, part of the 4 homes that you could pair together, I will give it an 8.5 out of 10 as it meets the same criteria as all the others. Moving on to 2866 Hillcrest Avenue, once again, part of the homes they compare together, I will give it an 8.5 out of 10 as you compare them with the others. Comes with a 10-car garage as well. Next up, we have the updated Eclipse Towers interior. It comes with a 10-car garage in the Eclipse Towers building. I actually do not like this interior. I much prefer the OG interior over the updated ones. I will give it a 5.5 out of 10 because of the bad view, and it is more expensive than the original Eclipse Towers, which in my opinion has a better view. Moving on to the Tinsel Towers updated interior, once again, not my favorite interior on these. It is in a better location. I actually did used to have a Tinsel Towers apartment for the longest time. It's in a much better location than the Eclipse Towers in my opinion. It's lesser known, but kind of an underdog in my opinion. Comes with a 10-car garage. I will give it a 9 out of 10. Not bad. Moving on to Richards Majestic with the updated interior. It comes with a 10-car garage. It's in a decent location, kind of towards the western Los Santos area, going towards Vespucci. If you want an apartment in this area, but a little bit better, I would just go a little bit more towards the Tinsel Towers or Eclipse Towers. You get a nicer area and a nicer view. I will give it a 7 out of 10 for what it's worth. Moving on to 3677 Wispy Mound Drive, comes with a 10-car garage. It's not my favorite apartment. It is relatively standard and basic. I will give it a 5 out of 10. Moving on to 4 Integrity Way with the updated interior. It is probably one of the better apartments with the better locations. In my opinion, the outside looks absolutely horrendous though. It looks like a hospital or a building with a lipstick, I always thought. But the location definitely saves it. I will give it a 9 out of 10 because you can pair it with basically 2 of the higher end offices, the Maze Bank or the Arcadius, for a pretty good pairing. Next up, we have Del Perro Heights with the updated interior and a 10-car garage. This in my opinion is not worth it because the value proposition compared to the OG Del Perro Heights, which has a nicer interior and comes in at $268,000 less. I would recommend getting that one. I wouldn't get this one. I'll give it a 5 out of 10 for its location because it is right next to an office as well. Moving on to 2113 Madwayne Thunder Drive. It is very far west of Los Santos. You can't pair it with really anything else, and you're not in this area a ton. Even in Missions, you're not in this area a ton. It's just a bad place to live. I'll give it a 2 out of 10. Moving on, we have 4 Eclipse Towers apartments, all with varying interiors. 2 are the same interiors, and then another 2 are the same interiors. But Rockstar, once again, kind of just wanted to give you the opportunity to own all of them. So we have 4 OG Eclipse Towers apartments, I guess, and the ones with the interior facing downtown Los Santos are definitely the better ones. I believe those are the 2 higher priced ones as well, and I will give those ones an 8.5 out of 10. The ones facing the hills, I will give a 6 out of 10 because the view is bad. Next up, we have 3 different variants of the Weasel Plaza apartments. They come with a 10-car garage in a pretty good location, better than the Eclipse Towers in my opinion, and all interiors are also pretty nice. I will give it an 8.5 out of 10 because I honestly like the interiors, I like the location. These apartments have a lot going for them, and they are also all pretty cheap as well. Moving on to Tinsel Towers, we have 2 different variants of the Tinsel Towers with different views, but they are both pretty nice views, and they come with a 10-car garage in a better location than the Eclipse Towers, but not insanely better. They do come in at around half the price though. I will give it a 7 out of 10 for its location. Moving on to Richards Majestic, this is the OG variant with a 10-car garage coming in at $253,000. In my opinion, I would just get the Weasel Plaza because you could pair it with 3 different towers or 3 different units instead of the 1 Richard Majestics without the updated interior. And the interior is pretty nice as well. I will give it a 6 out of 10. The only thing that's holding it back is the lack of pairings. Moving on to 4 Integrity Way, once again the building I dubbed with the lipstick, 10-car garage coming in at $247,000. I would get this one if you were to get a unit in this building, although I don't know why you would. It's a pretty weird location. You can't pair it with other businesses though. Just not my favorite. I will give it a 8 out of 10 for its location. Next up, we have Richards Majestic again with an OG. This one you can pair with the other one before, but you can only pair 2 of them. The one across the street, Weasel Plaza, you can pair 3 or maybe 4, I believe. So I would just go across the street and pay a little bit more. I wouldn't get these at all. I would give it a 5 out of 10. Going back to 4 Integrity Way, we have another unit at $235,000. Once again, if you wanted to live here, maybe get this one because it's the cheapest and the location is good. But I honestly wouldn't get it just because the outside is horrendous. But I unfortunately have to give it an 8 out of 10. Moving on to 3 Alta Street, there are 2 units in this. Comes with a 10-car garage, each at around $200,000. This is a pretty good location with a nicer looking building than the one with the lipstick. And it is right across the street from the Mile High Club as well, which will never be finished, of course. I will give it a 7.5 out of 10 because of its location. Next up, we have 2 apartments in Del Perro Heights. These both come with a 10-car garage at $200,000 and $205,000 respectively. And these are just the OG of OG apartments. These are the cheapest ones that exist if you do want a high-end apartment in the city, which are the only ones that exist on the map. I will give it a 8 out of 10 for its value proposition and the fact that you can get an office right across the street. Moving on to high-end garages. Starting off with the Eclipse Boulevard garage, comes with a 50-car garage, and it is in a pretty good location as well. You are always on this street. You're always driving to the casino, back to your apartment, your arcade if it's on this street. It's a very good street with a 50-car garage. It is rather expensive though, but in my opinion, very much worth it. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Moving on to 0120 Murrieta Heights. It comes with a 10-car garage. The outside is absolutely horrendous, and you do not get a spawn point in this garage. Unlike Eclipse Boulevard garage, you get a spawn point in. I will give it a 5 out of 10 because it just looks ugly. It's not a great location and it's expensive. Moving on to Unit 2 Popular Street, comes with a 10-car garage. It used to be a very good garage for a duplication glitch that I know nothing of course, because I've never done that before. But anyways, it costs $142,000. Not the best value, but if you want a 10-car garage in this area, I guess this one is not a bad choice. Moving on to 331 Supply Street, comes with a $135,000 price tag, a 10-car garage as well. It is just down the street from the other one as well, so if you wanted to pair these, I guess you could, but in my opinion, I just wouldn't even pair these. Just pair, if you want a 10-car garage really bad that you want to pair, just pair it with a 10-car garage apartment. Going for a sole garage is not worth it, unless you're doing a duplication glitch, which I advise against as a good citizen of a Rockstar Games game. Moving on to Unit 76 Greenwich Parkway, comes with a 10-car garage, and this is in a absolutely terrible location. $120,000 is a lot of money as well, and it looks pretty ugly. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. I just wouldn't recommend buying this at all. Moving on to 1337 Exceptionalist Way, comes with a 10-car garage and also looks extremely horrendous in my opinion. $112,000 is a pretty hefty price as well. I just wouldn't recommend buying this. It's at the airport and it looks rather ugly. Although there's a nightclub right next to it, so maybe that does help it, and indeed it does. I will give it a 6 out of 10. Moving on to the last high-end garage you could buy, 1623 South Shambles Street. It is already in shambles, and it looks like it's in shambles. Quite an ugly building and in a terrible location of the city. It does come with a 10-car garage though. I will give it a 2 out of 10 because it is a 10-car garage, but man, is this building a terrible purchase. And ending off this video, we have the Vinewood Car Club garage. Comes with 100 spaces for cars. It is locked behind GTA Plus though, and if your subscription does run out, you can no longer put cars in the garage. You can take them out, but you cannot put them in or move them at all. You have to reenact. They're basically frozen in there. You can't sell them, you can't do anything with them, or you can sell them actually, but you can't move them, I believe. If you need the space, I would buy it, as I did, but if you don't need the space, you just want the flex of it, I still wouldn't even buy it. It's not a really good proposition. It's the only reason why I have GTA Plus, but it is very practical. It's in a rather meh location as well. I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10 because it is locked behind a paywall, which sucks. And that is everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed the tours with Real Estate Agent Falls all across the San Andreas states. Hopefully you saw some properties that you may purchase, and if you do, make sure to contact Real Estate Agent Falls. Thank you all for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please consider subscribing and becoming a channel member. Like my dog Byron here. If you'd like to be like Byron, all you have to do is subscribe, and it will be replaced by a button that says join. Click it for more details, and that is all. Have a great day or night or evening, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.